Simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now we are joined by Dawn Treader, 10th Man, Jessica, The Plain Truth, Physics Warrior, Paul, Mind Warp, Flatzoid, Chocolate Sane, Arwin, and 10th Man. Very good to have you all.
Hello, what hope?
Good morning.
Good to be here.
I feel bad now that I sent it to Narnia.
Feel bad because of Narnia? Don't worry, space is fake, but you'll get over it. Any signs of Earth curvature?
None whatsoever.
Not on
Can we
us.
say the absence of curvature?
I'm gonna pretend he said something like, "You can pretend that there is."
There's no curvature of the claimed required radius.
But there's just no curvature. Topology,
You're
not curve.
You're asking the question because we haven't seen it.
Well, yeah, I've not seen Earth curve. It's in plenty of demonstrations of perspectives.
Curve that you just can never see it.
Because it's not there. Because we live on a flat plane.
Well, because it's much bigger and not the size of the supposed Earth size that they say now.
Nah, that's bollocks. We went through that on the last show.
Mick West says you could see it at 45,000 feet. What's
Sure
going on, guys?
Wait, sure he does.
Could I say something real quick?
Go ahead.
Okay.
You should get in touch with Neil deGrasse.
Clearly not. Go ahead, Jess.
No, I'm just saying, like, we have to take into account that we, like, literally that we do have senses, and it doesn't matter how big something is. If we're standing on a curved surface and we're traveling along that curved surface, it doesn't matter how large that curved surface is, that curve will be detectable by our senses. We never detect it. That's a huge problem. It's never taken into account. In building infrastructures, we have all these roads and railroads. Like if there's hump on the land, okay, you have hump on the land that the road is building over. But an entire curving surface that we're supposed to be standing on is never taken into account in any of these in any of these building infrastructures, and we never experience that curve. So it doesn't matter the size of that ball. It's like, I'm just saying, like, that's how I feel about it.
I get that. But what if our sensors simply aren't long enough to properly be able to read that?
Even if we end up even if we end up traveling so far that we end up on the side and under that ball.
Yeah, but
I'm pretty sure we'd be able to.
How long does it take to travel the known realm in a straight line, you know? That's a long time, unless you have like a jet plane. So, okay, then think of freaking supposed Jupiter, which is idiotically large compared to the Earth. Okay, those same sensors and those travel times would then be so insanely long. How could you tell?
Marvin, you're on the wrong terra firma. You need to be on Jupiter.
Well, maybe we are on Jupiter.
No, we're not on Jupiter.
When I first got into this,
just don't let him do this. He's already disclosed. He's already disclaimed. He's just being a dick.
No, I'm not being a dick.
Yeah, you are. You said you're just bored and you're feeling argumentative and playing devil. You disclosed all of this right at the start. You know you have.
Just to get clear what I'm doing. I am speculating here.
I want to take my time going home.
Oh, you want to go home?
No.
Yeah, I don't think that's.
I think Chocolate's muttering to his colleagues on.
Look, you can't trust all your sensory data all the time. You look at that straw in the glass, it looks bent, but we know it's not bent.
Yes, what I'm like in reference to like our position, like we're able to sense when we are and our body is in a different position than it was before. We're able to pick up on that sense. Versus us seeing something, it's like it's slightly different. Our eyes can kind of like be deceived to a certain extent. But like if you understand how our eyes work, then we
No,
can
no,
understand
what
the
I'm
effects
saying,
that
I'm trying to validate your actual statement by that. So they've
Oh,
given
mine,
us
okay.
this, they have given us already, like Nathan said, the circumference of the Earth. Arwen is saying, well, maybe it's not that, maybe it's the circumference of Jupiter, Narnia. Okay. And then you said, yeah, but our senses would tell us. Okay.
My R is greater than yours.
That's right. Your R is greater than mine. That's for sure. But
Wait,
R.
hold on. He doesn't have an R. Where are you getting R from, Arwen?
Arwen.
Yeah, where are you getting
Yeah,
R
my
for
R
your
Lord.
Jupiter? Where are you getting R from for your Jupiter Earth? Where are you getting that R from?
I'm presupposing it.
Yeah, but no, but where are you deriving it
I have
from?
to confirm it
At least
first.
they're deriving it from the path of the sun, right? They've got something. What have you got? Nothing. Just your musings, right?
Well, my sense of
His name.
exploration and the imagination that one day I might travel like a lifetime, hundreds of years over the radius of Jupiter, and then find myself way back on the other side of our realm.
Oh God, what a
Well,
load
come
of
back
bollocks!
to Earth because I want to finish my
I've got to put a
thought.
stop to this. Sorry, 10th man. I've got to just put a stop.
Sure,
to
it
this.
doesn't have to do with Aristarchus.
This is nonsense. Any evidence of
I will make a full lifetime report.
I'm going to bring this back on track. You're determined to hijack this show, and I can tell, Arwen. Right. Any evidence of axial rotation of the claimed spherical Earth-based variety, not of the Jupiter-based?
Well, there's no rotation on the Jupiter variety.
I don't want to hear about it. All right, I'm sick of
Jupiter
it.
is definitely stationary.
I'm not going to fight Arwen nonsense and the mainstream heliocentric nonsense on the same show. That's just not reasonable.
Let's just say no.
No.
Nope.
Well, no. I was gonna say well, but no.
What about scientific evidence of gravity?
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity.
No
Scientific
evidence
evidence
whatsoever.
thereof.
Scientific, considering that it's conceptual, no.
Nine.
No proof.
The aberration.
Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container?
Absolutely not.
That's technically impossible, Nathan.
Agreed. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Be nice, but no.
Only in the Tootsie Roll Pop.
I don't think Jupiter would have one either.
Oh my goodness.
No,
All
that's
right,
what I don't understand. But I'm not going to get into that. I
No.
really don't get that. The diagram they have of Jupiter is so stupid. It's a ball of gas. Why is there a? I just don't get that.
Well, it's because it looks like it kind of gas.
Next,
They have
next
to explain
question.
the motion of all that twirly thing. Like,
No,
You mean
no,
that
how to do
painting?
that?
No, I'm into
You mean
this.
that?
I'm into this. So what you're saying is, why would it be claimed that not only Earth violates the second law of thermodynamics, but a different light in the sky is also a glaring violation of the second law of thermodynamics? I don't know why that would be in their narrative, Jessica. It's nonsense. You can't have a
It
ball
really
of gas
is.
in a vacuum. You're right. But that's what they believe. It's nonsense. I agree.
It's literally
gravity.
part of the narrative. They got gas giants. Like, it's so
Yeah.
in your face ridiculous. It's not. It's crazy.
It doesn't even fit into the presupposition. Like, it doesn't even fit into their presupposition about the way. Well, maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but
Well, they claim
Jupiter
that
being
all-
a larger body and being heavier, like they claim to have weighed Jupiter and everything like that. I'm entertaining their idea for a minute.
well,
Like
how
just
they
like
do
go
it?
into the.
How
I'm
they-
sorry, go
The only way you
They
could
do it by the-
entertain their idea is to entertain gravity, which is not a force. So let's move on to the next question.
What they do with the claim is basically compacting all that gas, presupposing there's a lot of pressure inside, potentially making it those gases into liquids there because of the pressure, and all that body together would emanate enough gravity to all keep it that way.
What's
That's how they
causing the
conceptualize it.
pressure?
So then, what
It's
came first,
ridiculous.
the
But that's
gravity
how,
or the
that's
gas?
story. Just how look. I'm really into that kind of science fiction. Okay,
I
so
know.
I know it.
I get it.
Any
Yeah,
evidence?
it's not-
It's fun to talk about how stupid it is, though. It really is. It's fun.
Start a Narnia channel for a halfway house for the Globers before they come to flat Earth.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. This is one
Flat Earth
one of the reasons why sometimes I'm a little bit sarcastic about it. You know, because I like to point out that the silliness of the heliocentric model. But you know, I don't
Right,
go
'cause they
into
think-
the Narnia that Arwen likes to go into, which is cool. It has its moments, but yeah.
No, it's like they claim that it makes so much sense, and like, and it's like, and then even if when you hear them explain it, it's like you sound, they sound like they're talking about a fantasy land, like
Can I-
Harry Potter or
But it
something.
induces a dream and not a train of thought. They're just like, oh, that makes so much sense. This and that. No, it's like, oh, it makes
It's
so
so
much
cool.
sense. Oh, like they get high.
Narnia,
Yes.
Narnia. Hey, Narnia. Let me give you an example. Let's use math. 5 and 5 is what, Arwen?
What?
5 and 5 or 5 plus
5 plus 5 is what, Arwen?
That depends on your
Oh, God.
numerological
Oh
system.
God,
See?
it's just one of
There you
those,
go.
isn't it?
That depends on your numerology.
Just
I'm
answer
talking
him.
simple addition.
Just answer him. Come on.
Is it a decimal system?
Yeah.
Simple addition, Arwen, 5 and 5. 5 plus 5 equals
10.
what in simple addition?
There you go. He said 10.
Oh, thank you very much. So the Globers are thinking 5 and 5 added together is 20. Arwen says we can't tell them it's 10 because that's too much of a jump. So let's start with 15 and let's work them down to 12, and then we'll finally get them to 10.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
finally you get it.
Oh right, that sounds great.
That's exactly what I'm trying to do.
You're killing all of us that already know
Yeah,
it's
but
10.
it's like treating drug addicts. To just cold turkey is hard shit, you know? You need to kind of give
Yeah,
them
but
a
that's-
life
but-
back instead.
But
Yeah,
Arwen,
but I hate
sometimes you have to.
regressing
Though.
back to 15 when I already know it's 10.
Hey,
The
if
thing
you can
is, hold
go,
on, and
hey,
no,
if you can
I
go
really
cold
don't.
turkey,
Look,
good for you.
it's
you know?
obviously a good conversation, but we can't have 3 people talking at once. 2 is enough.
Cold turkey is not the issue. The issue is math is not dependent on sensory data. Logic is not dependent on that. It's the truth. Now, if they can't handle the truth, you want to say, okay, here's a lesser lie. At least handle a lesser lie. And then as I keep lying to you less and less, you'll finally get to the truth.
Yes.
Well, that's stupid.
That's nonsense. Just stick
No, but
to
I'm
the
not
actual
claiming it
truth.
to be the truth. I'm just conceptualizing, and they believe that naturally because it falls in
Have you
line
heard?
with their
Can you hear
belief.
me, Nathan? Or coming through here?
Hey Spurs,
I'm not claiming it to be
Test
absolute
microphone.
reality.
Oh, you can hear me, yeah?
we hear you. Good to have you.
Oh, excellent.
First.
Fantastic. Hi,
Well, I
hi,
would
everybody.
love
Yes.
for Arwen to be my banker.
I don't-
And when I go to the bank, Arwen, I'll say, Arwen, give me $1 million. And he'll say, yeah, but you don't have $1 million. I go, I know, but give me 900,000 at least.
Well, what's
But the point is, I only have $10, but you got to lie to me that I don't have $1 million. So you're going to give me 900,000 when my account's about $10.
Okay. Well, do you got a house? What's your job?
Oh, come on.
Oh, so now you're going to get real now.
Maybe we should continue this after the housekeeping's over.
I just want to check with the chat, because while I'm getting more and more frustrated, I can hear Owen sniggering more and more. So how's this going over in the live stream? Let me know in the chat.
What?
You're keeping yourself amused. I can feel my blood boiling.
Sorry.
This is fun.
Well,
This is fun.
I think it has two. We can, if you always want to try and find a silver lining, I think we should have a 2-pronged attack. First is the truth. We show them how it is, but we also have to show them how ridiculous the ball model is. Like, because you're not going to pick up a new belief system if you're still attached to the old one. So we have to, yeah, I mean, he's being a little pedantic and out there at this point, but still, I think we should frame how ridiculous the ball model is. That should be part of what we do on top of as well, showing the
Yeah,
truth.
but you just said
got
tell them the truth.
I kind of disagree with that, because if you have an abused child or someone in an abused relationship, or someone who's struggling to come to terms with something, I think the last thing no matter how wrong or bad it is, right? You know, you wouldn't say to that victim, that abused victim, get over it, snap out of it. You're just wrong. You would try to guide them, explain to them their errors, in a patient way. I think patience is the key, because if you've been studying or learning or been told something, for your entire life, you've been abused. You can call this abuse.
How in the world are you finding this?
Isn't
while
that
Correct.
sweet?
That's correct. But hold on,
Isn't
that's
that
not the
cute?
end of it.
That's cheered me right up, Spurs. So you see the globe heads as abuse victims.
Right.
Well, okay.
But that's not the end of it. Some of these
Their
abuse
minds
victims.
have been corrupted to the point where it's that. What's that effect where they, if you've been kidnapped and you want to go
Stockholm
back
syndrome.
to,
Stockholm.
yeah, something like that. So this is the victims here. You can see the rage. You can see, like, when you get them in a point where we'll explain this and demonstrate, they're just like, you can see the nervousness. So this is what I feel. I can feel their pain. Because I was the same. I felt the devastation when I was found out it's not a ball. It's like, what? What do you mean? Why? You think, why would they lie? Why would they? All of these questions start to arise, right?
You felt devastated when you found out it was flat?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't.
Several times.
Why
Well, not
did you
everyone
feel
has that.
devastated?
But so badly the first few times that I didn't sink in what the consequences of what I took it very superficial. Then later I realized, and I would disbelieve it because of that. Thought like, no,
Yeah.
Kind of
too
like,
terrible.
because you have to think about what there's a dome or there's something, but there's no space. They've built these rockets for no reason. They've gone to, so you have to analyze so much. Obviously, the older you are, the more you have to process, right? And that's why a lot of even say like the older flat earthers, they still have they still want to hold on to certain values, right? Because it's very difficult to let go. It's traumatic for me. So it's a traumatic experience for me. Yeah.
Spurs, you know what you just described?
Well,
programming. Okay, so why is it that I know flat earthers, I myself being one of them, that didn't go through this trauma-based recovery? And then you're talking about a 12-step program before you accept the earth is flat.
it's just learn.
No,
it's
your
a learning
program.
process. That is to deprogram. They need to learn how to learn again.
No,
Look, it's just that
Tenth
people
man,
are
10th man,
different.
10th
That's
man.
what the basis is. People are
10th man,
different. There are going to be
the
people
trauma-
who are
the
going to
trauma-
need that 12-step program,
Yeah.
and then there are going to be people like me who literally thought, "Oh, I wasn't crazy all my life, thinking I can't possibly live on a spinning ball," because that's how I felt. So when I found flat Earth, for me, it was just like, "Oh, okay, I wasn't insane all my life. This makes sense."
Chocolate, you're a natural born.
Hang on, Arwen. Chocolate. When I say 12-step program, what do you interpret that as?
Yeah, like somebody who's an alcoholic who needs AA and needs to get over this program that's been put on them all their life, which I understand because I mean, look, I had a mobile with the solar system over my crib. Okay, one of my first twin mattresses when I was like 4 years old, 5 years old, after I got out of I got out of being in a crib, it had space on it, rockets and planets. I still remember it. You know what I'm saying? So,
Space Legos.
Also, your name
Legos.
is Chocolate Sands.
Everywhere.
Chocolate.
Space
Chocolate.
Legos everywhere.
Chocolate. I'm not talking about the steps of deprogramming. I'm talking about telling the truth or lying a little less.
Nah, I'm good. Hit them with the truth.
Thank you.
There aren't people living under my feet antipolar to my position. That's ridiculous. People aren't sticking to a spinning ball. We're not flying around in a vacuum. That's truth.
I do want to speak to that, though. I do want to speak to that. And that's fine. Like, you should always be consistent with the truth and everything like that. But there's a philosophy that I grew up grew up understanding, like, from the time I was the truth, like, It's kind of a story. It's not going to be long. I'll try to make it short, but I'll just explain how like when truth came into the world, and it was the truth that was blatant, but it cuts really deep. And the truth, like it wasn't that it was bad, but it was like it the foundation like was a lot for people to be able to take. So when you so like the whole moral is that when you cloak the truth, like wisdom came into existence. When wisdom came to cloak the truth, that's when people were able to accept it and understand it without it bruising their their foundation and everything. They were able to accept it without completely just, you know, look that, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to find the right words, but basically
Yeah.
like you can give people the truth, but you can do it in a way where, of course, not everyone is going to accept it, but you can give people the truth, but you can do it in a way where they can, like, the wisdom also has to be in play and everything. People accept things better when you have the wisdom behind it. You
Exactly.
have when they have a foundation to stand on, not presupposing things. That's not what I mean, but
Mhm.
like having that foundation that they can stand on, so they don't just feel helpless. So it's like literally people like being told that their entire world is a lie. That is a very traumatic experience for a lot of people. For some people that may not be the case. Like it wasn't. Did I go through a slight depression? Not because I was lied to, but because I knew that now that I'm on this path, how it's going to affect my relationships with other people, how it's going to affect the way I see the world now. But I was able to, but then even after that, I was able to still accept that because people are people. You're going to meet people that agree with you. You're going to meet people that disagree with you. You're going to meet people that will accept the truth. Well, I'm almost done. You're going to meet people that will accept the truth, and you're going to meet people who want to stay in their delusions. The point is that you have to be the one to stay on the righteous path. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks or what anyone else does and everything like that. So like, so for some people that is going to be their experience. It's going to be traumatic for them. And you have to accept that that's what they're going to go through. That's my whole thing.
Said. Well said. It's direct relation. The harsher the truth, or the more refined the truth, the more wisdom you require to be able to deal with it. And if you don't have that wisdom when you gain that truth, it will sink away, and it will require time to sink in. And then when you've gathered enough wisdom, you will be able to recollect it and deal with it.
I mean, I think the next stage, because ridicule, it doesn't seem to be working. Like it's not having the effect that it was supposed to. You ridicule someone, they kind of break, they back down, they change their mind, whatever. So I think what's happening is we're seeing psychology. I think the psychologists will be called to attention. So they'll say that there's something wrong with the way that we think or see things. I was in a discussion with the Ball Earthers, and they were like, "Oh, you need to speak to psychologists or some therapy." And I was like, "Okay, sure, fine. Wow, bring them." I said, "We could do this on a live stream. If you have a professional psychologist who could look at the way that you think we see things, I'd be glad to speak to a psychologist, like on a live stream,
I'd watch that.
things like
I'd
this."
definitely watch that.
Yeah, well, he was trying to arrange it. He said, "Oh, he has it was Zant. I don't know if you know Zant." He says he has some friends who was a psychologist. And he tried to arrange it. He was hopeful for it to happen, but I think they've realized, well, there's nothing here that they could do. Well, I mean, how would a psychologist go about a therapy for a flat earther? If the Ball Earther needs therapy to get over the trauma of being lied to, how would they see it, the Ball Earthers, that if they think that we need therapy, what would be the outcome? Like, I'm just trying to think how it would go. Like,
it depends who is under therapy. So me speaking to a therapist, how's life, Nathan? Superb. Everything's excellent. The world is like being honestly, a child again. It's so wondrous. I'm so pleased to be alive. Yeah, so why are you here then? I've been told by ballers that I'm nuts. Why? Well, because I've realised that perspective isn't Earth curve.
Yeah, I feel like the
I would do
therapist
the
would be
same
like,
I'd
thing.
love
first
to
question,
see a
like,
video
why
of
do
I
you
would
think
love
saying
to
that.
have that interaction with some type of psychiatrist. See
That
how
would be
long it
but-
takes
awesome.
before
you
I
would
drive
convince him
them
it's flat,
crazy.
I think.
I said
But-
to Zan, please, I mean, get them, welcome. I goes, this has to be on a live stream if possible, so everybody could see how they would view and what we, so that would be, if that could happen. So if there are any psychologists out there who feel, we have a misunderstanding, I don't know, like, I don't know if they think we see like ghosts or hear voices, or if it's something like that, if that's how they would go about it. You see, so it'd be very interesting. But I think that's the next stage because they keep calling the crazy card, and I think there's going to be a call because remember, science to them is very important. They think they have a hold or a grasp on science, and we're saying no, you have got science wrong. What we're saying is that everybody is wrong, basically. To everybody else, this may sound crazy, right? We're saying that all the scientists have got it wrong. We're saying all the mathematicians have got it wrong. We're saying all of, physics, known physics is all wrong. Okay. So again, how would they go about proving either or? I think it's just an interesting.
We're not saying that.
point.
We're not saying science is wrong. So no, what we're saying is the people who claim to be science are actually pseudoscience. They've hijacked this term that is empirical to grease the skids of their just so stories. They simultaneously tell you that science doesn't prove things, just in case their just so story needs to be changed later down the line. Ultimately, we have a definitive method for proving causal relationships called the scientific method. And if you're going to assert a causal relationship, which most of their claims are from the ball side, then you can apply science to it. And what do you know? They do claim that they've got science. They just don't, which makes them pseudo-scientists. Now, let's not throw scientific discovery under the bus just because pretender clown muppet pseudoscientists claim to have science when they don't. That's nothing wrong with science in that regard. It's the pseudoscience we have an issue with. People who observe a phenomena, light in the sky, and then tell you a little story. They're pseudoscientists, but they'll tell you about how science says. Well, science doesn't say. It's a method of establishing cause and effect with systematic experimentation based on hypothesis after observing a phenomena. That's what it does. So if you want to observe a phenomena in the sky and then tell me about how the world works, you can go to hell, pseudoscientists. What you say? You've got science. I'm disagreeing with science. No, I'm not disagreeing with science. That's a method that you've not employed. So no, we're not at war with science. Absolutely not. Science is on our side. Pseudoscientists have hijacked the terminology. The purveyors of technology have hijacked the terminology. That doesn't mean we're at war with science. We're at war with pseudoscience.
Spurs, you used the term ridicule. If we ridicule an idea, that's different than ridiculing a person, correct?
Idea, the person, I mean, the whole thing, they go
Stay on
overboard.
top,
They've tried.
Stay on top. Spurs, I asked a very discrete set of words in that question. Ridicule an idea.
Okay, yeah.
Right? We can ridicule an idea, not the person, correct?
Of course, yes.
Okay, so I don't care
Yes.
if he wants to play the victim card after I destroy his idea. I didn't try to destroy him. Actually, I was helping him by giving him truth to replace the lie. So I have to destroy the lie, the idea.
I agree. Yeah,
You're
that's how
always
I
gonna-
try to go about it.
No, hang on. You're always going to get friction. You're always going to be in a battle when truth meets a lie. You're trying to say, let's do it sanitized.
No response. Spurs?
I mean, people do tend to attack the individual. This is on their side. We attack the argument, which is what we do. We focus solely on the argument, which is what we do. No, I agree. Yeah, I'm just saying that the idea of the ridicule is, from their point, from their side, is to ridicule
Why are
as
you
much
playing
as
their side?
possible.
You have the truth. You come and show them the truth. Their side is the lie. Just share the truth and ridicule the lie. And then, because you're in a battle for the mind, you're going to have friction.
I see Spurs as kind of like very empathic to these guys, which is a very good trait. It's cool. You're like a sensitive guy, Spurs.
Well,
It's,
what I was
it's
going
cool.
to say, that the once the ball earther, like, you have a conversation with the ball earther, you go back and forth, and then it's time for demonstration time. So this is the first, I'm talking about the first contact with the ball earther, not after arguing over it, but I'm saying that the initial contact, the trauma begins for them is when they're unable to demonstrate, because they think they know what they're talking about. They're like, yeah, I understand. I have the equations. We've done it. And then you say, okay, you demonstrate to me your claim. That's when the trauma kicks in, and then they realize, well, and then now at that point, I think they're just relying on somebody somewhere to do the job for them. Like, I mean, that's how I was in the beginning. Initially, I was thinking that a ball earther, somebody will show that it's a ball. Like, this is like 5-6 years ago. I was thinking, well, someone's going to show that it's a ball. Of course it's a ball. So somebody will show, and I think that's what they are. They're like now. They rely on somebody else because they feel I don't have the answer. So somebody will find the answer. So they're just waiting, I think. So the trauma's kicked in. Most of the ballers that we engage with today are in actual trauma. So they know, like Rumpus, he knows he cannot demonstrate something. So all he has now is, like, for example, explanation after explanation. He can't go any further than that. So that is, to him, personally to him, that would be traumatic, right? Because you want to be right.
No, you're totally
wrong.
You're totally wrong here. Let me explain from my point of view and see if it makes sense.
Just before you do, though, hey Mac, hey Ranty.
Hiya.
Hiya. Hey Ranty. Hey Mac.
Hey Nathan, how you doing, Nate? You alright?
Very good to have you. Sorry, carry on, 10th man.
All right. From the moment Flat Earth came into my circle, I hit it hard. I said, what? I wonder if it's true. I mean, this explains all the time. When I was in high school, I argued with the science teacher. Man, I'm going to check this out. In fact, I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm going to try to prove it's around. And I couldn't. And I said, this is vindication. This is great. I've always known it was right. Okay. Then I start talking to everybody in my circle of influence. Okay. Up to that point, guess who I was? Steady, smart, retired at an early age.
Hold on, can we just go back 10 minutes? Let's just go back to when you said, you said I tried to prove it was a globe. Yeah.
First.
So this is my point.
Some empathy. Okay. All of a sudden, I take it to him. I say, hey, guess what? I saw something that's going to blow your mind. I can't draw a crowd if I was having a free barbecue. They're all avoiding me now. They all know I'm a flat earther and they don't want anything to do with it. What empathy? They don't even get in an argument. They don't even bring it up. They think I'm crazy. So I find this channel called Nathan Oakley. I said, wow, this is good. This is the tip of the spear kind of a thing I've been looking for. Just to talk to people who want to talk. And then I see trolls and I see opposition and I see ballers. I go, where are they in reality? I want them right next to me. I can't find any of them. They're just on the show, it seems like. First, what I'm trying to say is that when you take the truth of the flat earth to people around you, they don't act like rumpus. They don't do any of this crap that you're talking about. They either shun you away because they think you're crazy, or a few of them, and I do have a few, have all been converted to flat earth. all the ones who would not say I'm crazy and took time to say, why do you think the earth is flat? I want to spend time with the people who say, why do you think the earth is flat? Not the other ones.
So I watch, while Physics Warrior is repairing a phone, I watch a show on YouTube called Lewis Rossman, and it's a guy in New York that does board repairs, and he's occasionally hinted at some conspiratorial topics on his streams. And I don't know, about a week, maybe 10 days ago, I was in his stream, and who should turn up but GeoShifter. Some of the older flat earthers may know who GeoShifter is. You might have seen one of his videos. You've mentioned about the rocket hitting the alleged dome with the sound of swishy water. He was one of the first people to stick that out in this arena. So he's got a, I don't know, 500,000 view video with that on it. Anyway, he was in there. So he and I got chatting, and it quickly turned into a discussion about space. And somebody in his shop that's doing a repair pretty much the same as Physics Warrior is now doing says to the owner of the shop, this Lewis Rossman guy, have you been watching the live stream? You just heard it just on camera, one of the staff saying, have you been watching the live stream? So obviously the owner of the shop, the guy who's running the stream, this Lewis Rossman chap, suddenly is watching the stream chat with me and Geo talking about the violation of the second law of thermodynamics that is space. And then I watched one of his shows a couple of days ago, and in a sarcastic tone he said, unless you believe space is fake, or the contrary, I can't remember how I phrased it, something like, unless you believe space is real, something like that. It's like, oh right, so that seed's been well and truly planted then. That's unfortunate. My point being that he is like the guy you're discussing, 10th Man. He's just normal guy. Yeah, he showed some signs of being interested in conspiracy. Most people watch Ancient Aliens, so what? But he immediately heard it and went, he didn't do what you're describing from our opponents. He just looked at the information, assessed it, and went, and that was the sum total of his reaction. And then once he stewed on it, he's had a little think about it, right? And he started to mention it. But that's the typical reaction, tentative.
Yeah.
This is the point. I was trying to say that trauma. So look, globe earthers they call names. They say you don't get it. You're a moron. You're an idiot. So for me, at that moment, that's the trauma. How do they handle this truth of they cannot demonstrate something? So their first response is, "Oh, you don't understand what you're talking about. You don't get it." Like a very simple thing to understand. They say that you don't get it because they're having trouble getting their head around. This is what I mean, 10th Man, with the trauma. So yeah, if the guy you were speaking to or people you're speaking to, if they listen to, and they can see, okay, there's a problem. And then if they don't see there's a problem, they say, okay, there's not a problem here. And then you say, okay, demonstrate it. That's when the problem begins, because then they say, well, you just don't get it. You can't see what I see in my mind, that it works. The model works. So, you'd have Brenda or someone on here and say, well, you just don't get it. The model works. And you're like, okay, demonstrate this model. Oh, you just don't get it. You're just a moron. You don't understand. So this is for me is a serious. As soon as they start to act like this in this manner, this is the trauma kicking in, and they don't know how to respond in a normal situation.
Spurs, you've totally missed my whole point again. I mean, how many times do you have a steel plate in your brain or what? I mean, come on. The robber comes into your house to rob your house. He tells you it's because he's been broke, he's suffering trauma. As he robs you right in front of you and then beats up your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then you make a police report. Yeah, I have empathy towards the guy. He robbed me because of this, and that. Are you kidding me? These people you're referencing.
I said this already, 10th Man.
Sounds kind of Swedish.
Spurs views these people as victims of abuse. In reality, they're the very small percentage who've just reacted extremely badly to this revelation. That's all they are. And the reaction is vitriol, and that I don't have any sympathy for them. Spurs, good for you.
No, I mean, I'm just again. You have to. I see how I saw it, which was, how could this be? How is it possible? We've been lied to, and being into conspiracy as well. I was like, how did I miss this? Why wasn't I? I should have saw this when I understood 9/11 was, you know, an inside job and these things. So I can see the devastation of these people. It's like the whole world has been turned upside down, right? And trying to demonstrate something that doesn't exist is dramatic in itself, right? It's like trying to prove unicorns. And if I said unicorns existed now, and
You mean
you were
my
like, well, go on,
world
let's
was
prove it.
turned right
Let's have a
side
look.
up?
And I would just say, well, you just don't get it. You're a moron. You don't understand unicorns are real. And in my head, I understand how it might work and what I would need to do to demonstrate. I just can't do it right now. I'm not in a position to do that. So again, that's a traumatic event. So they're lying for somebody else. They're protecting another institution. And they just need to realize that.
Spurs, I gotta hand it to you. You miss your calling. If you decide to be a psychologist right now, the ballers, you'll make so much money. If I was a baller, I'd pay you a yearly fee up front and keep coming to you because you just make me feel good.
Yeah, I mean, I do offer therapy for them on Discord. Actually, I mean, we talk about it like this. It is
You actually
psychology.
took that as a compliment?
I mean, I say to them things like, "Look, you guys." I mean, I'm happy to say that there is
Stop virtue signaling. We get it. You're a nice guy.
Spurs. That wasn't meant to be a
I would
compliment.
just say this is something that people need help with.
Oh my gosh, Spurs, are you missing it again? They need help with the truth. Tell them the truth. That's showing empathy. That's showing sympathy. That's being there for them by telling the truth.
They know, they want to know, why would they lie? Remember, once you understand the earth is flat, you have questions. How did they lie? Why would they lie? What's going on? So they need to get through.
And then
these
when you tell them,
questions
will they actually listen? Because I've told them many times.
Yeah, I mean, we have
and they just forget,
I mean, you'd be surprised.
Literally the
I mean,
details
I know
of
it
what
can
said.
seem like they are very dogmatic, but you can get them to have a discussion. You know, once they've calmed down, and you have a discussion with them, and you can actually find out what they really think. And 9 times out of 10, they just go with it because it's the consensus. That's,
we already know.
I've got them down from 100% to 99%, which for me, for these people who, 100% knew the Earth was a globe, there's doubt. There's that sliver of doubt, which is, that seed, which is what we plant, right?
But that's why they're here in the first instance. So that doubt is the only. If they were absolutely assured in their belief, they wouldn't be here.
Exactly. Here's the thing, and I say this all the time. If you're a baller and you believe we are brain dead retards who don't understand the most basic principles of the world, why do you show up day after day and try and convince us?
I can tell you why. Again, it's psychology, right? They think. Remember, I've just said here, when you come into flat Earth, or you consider flat Earth, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, somebody has an answer. So the ball earthers think we have the answer, which we do. Okay, but they're looking for some type of ultimate answer. They're looking for a solution. We have that solution. We're giving them that solution, but they're just being difficult. It's very difficult to let go. So this is why they're here. Someone who believes in the ball, they're not involved in this discussion. They just, I believe in the ball, and they leave it alone. But somebody who, there are some who believe in the ball and argue the case, but the majority of ball earthers, they know it's not a ball. Then they know they're not able to demonstrate it. So they're here for our information. Remember, we're for the first time ever. Flat earthers are the ones actually going out there and doing research. This has never happened before. So of course the ball earthers are interested. When we go out there, make observations, or a balloon experiment, or someone's on a plane, they've never seen this before. Who has seen this before? Nobody. So yeah, they're on the journey as well. But again, it's very hard to be called an idiot 24 hours a day, a moron 24 hours a day. They would just rather say, okay, I'll stay with the ball and not be called a name, and just let you guys take the shots. Yeah, that's definitely what I see as a result of this, is that they'd rather just not be called any names. I mean, who wants to be called, names all day long if we're debating this, right? Because there are just trolls who are there to distort. So there's a mixture. There's a mixture of people who purposely know, who are not sure, and who want to, things like that. So just have to maneuver through all of those things. And I think we're doing great. I think we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. You've got the discussion, the debates. You've got people who go out there and research. You've got conferences. You've got meetups. It's in the media. So, you know, this is helping people get their head around it. And that's you know, as Mark Sargent said in his video, he said, this will help you to get your head around it. I think people forget that. This is something you have to get your head around. You can't just say the earth is flat, accept it. And so people want to know why, how, what do you mean? And so I've always had that, you know, getting your head around it with these people. Easy to get your head around. Because as Nathan's even said, you keep talking about space, you keep talking about moon landing as if they're real. That's getting your head around. I mean, I do it. I'm like, well, prove space, you know, how does a rocket work in space? That's the old way, thinking that space is a real thing, right? So how do you have a discussion with a ball earther if you're like, well, there's no space? And, well, I mean, you do have them. I mean, I'm just saying, but that's where you fall into that trap is, well, space and the moon landings, and that's the trap, isn't it? Because there is no space, and obviously there were no moon landings and things like that. So yeah, it's just you know, just trying to find a way to get them to see
blanket to them, though. That's all you're doing. You're only offering them a comfort blanket when you want to talk about space, because it makes them feel good. It makes them feel that it's real.
No, it's my mistake. That is, yeah. I've tried to stop doing that. If as soon as they mention space or gravity, I'm like, well, what's gravity? What's space? And then again, they realize, okay, we can't demonstrate it, you know, and then we just have to talk about why they believe what they believe. But like I say, from 100%, there are still
need that comfort blanket. That's the problem, is that they can't just have nothing replaced. That's why they so aggressive. Where's your model? Where's your model? I mean, look at Jose. Much love to Jose and all that, but this is why he went back to the ball, supposedly, because he doesn't have a model that he thinks answers all these questions. You know, he said it himself. You know, the heliocentric model has answers for all these things. They might not be right, but they're answers.
He needs to believe he has all the answers somehow.
Right. So, and I know he's not the only one who needs the answers, needs to know why these things work. I'm sure there's a lot of people like that, and I would love to know, but I'm not just gonna accept and cuddle up with a lie just because I don't have an answer to the truth. Like, get out of here. That's ridiculous.
Excuse me. Jose has the second law of thermodynamics, which is a law. Why doesn't he believe that? That's better than any model.
They don't have a model. You can't get mass to float in a vacuum or in a low pressure. So they keep, like, this is the whole thing. They keep saying they have answers. Yeah, we have answers too. If we just make up stuff that could never possibly happen, like, that's not an answer. Like, they're not explaining anything. So that's the irony of the model, is that it isn't even a model that you can make. So it isn't even something you can put your confidence in.
And they claim that they say, well, if you have a better explanation, it's like, it's not about having a better explanation. That's what they don't seem to get. It's about, like, or better just so story. Basically, it's not. They don't get that. That's not the case. The problem is that it doesn't work, and even trying to come up with some other type of logical, you still have to prove it. Like some type of other logical explanation, you still have to prove it. And the problem is we can't prove what's happening above us. We can't do it. So, like, you can't, like, them saying the only thing that we can say is that it can't possibly be a vacuum because we have gas pressure. That's the one thing that we can say for sure, with confirmation from science itself that you cannot have gas pressure without a container. But everything else, it's like, what are you saying? You know, like, that's what you really have to come to conclude, and that's something that they have to realize themselves. They're not. You can give them all of the facts, and they can tell you that you're wrong, all that they want to, without really understanding what it is that you're saying. Not that they don't understand what you're saying, but I mean that, like, they can say that you're wrong without really understanding what you're trying to say. I'll say that, like, what you're they don't understand it. Yeah. basically, I'm sorry. I had my point, and I I do that a lot. I need to work on that. But basically, that's the
Everybody-
problem. Yeah.
Everybody has a choice here. You either accept the law of nature or you accept a man-made model. Now, does nature make models or does it run in an orderly fashion with laws?
Right. And you can't just say like, you can't just say that. Well, if this is happening, then that must mean that there is a defiance of that law. And it's like, no, you can't defy a law. That's the whole point.
I told a guy, do you believe you can have gas pressure without a container? Asked the question directly. Good friend of mine in a restaurant. And he said no. And then I said the rest of the stuff about what NASA says and Earth being a ball. And he says, wait a minute. Are you saying you don't believe the Earth is a ball? And I said, no, you said it. He said, what do you mean? I said, you said you can't have gas pressure without a container. He says, right. I go, so then how could we be what they say we are? And he was stuck on that the whole time because he said it. Because it's a law of nature. Because
that's the best way to get them to, man, to claim themselves how ridiculous the nonsense is. And when you get them to say it, that's when it'll snap. Well, some of them, not all of them, but when you can get them to realize how ridiculous what they believe in is, that's when something starts happening in their brains.
I thank Nathan and John for that statement because I use it first in everything, and then I bring in everything else, and then they've already committed because they're saying this is a law of nature. It supersedes all models and NASA garbage.
I'm just going to read out Ninja Man's super chat. It says, Spurs, give me a break. These people are lying, good for nothing pieces of garbage. Heard enough of your nonsense. They are not children. Hey, John.
But that's the misconception actually, because people have been treated like children their entire lives. This is the point. If you give adults cartoons and animation, CGI, whatever, you are treating the people that trust you like youths, children, students. Okay, so this is why I see they're maintain. I mean, again, if we look at the characteristics of a globe earther, right, they are quick to go to playground scenarios. I mean, you're asking an adult, can you demonstrate your claim? And what we're seeing is a childlike behavior. They are retreating. Okay, they're acting out. This is not normal for me. This is not normal for an adult to behave like this. So if they're behaving like this, for me, you have to kind of treat them in the same light. I mean, obviously they're adults, but I mean, if their behavior towards this subject is childlike, well, then you can only see that they are going through something traumatic. And yeah, I see it's hard. People see that they're just lying, they're outright defending. But for me, this is the biggest. We're talking the biggest lie that we've known, that I've known in our lifetime. So the biggest requires the biggest comebacks therapy, whatever. So it can't be treated lightly or treated lightly. Yeah.
Hey Nathan, how
The
long you got
biggest
to go?
lie
till
is
the end of the show?
combated with the truth. Simple as that. You don't combat a lie with anything else but the truth.
Hey Nathan,
Hey,
how
John.
long you got to go to the end of the show?
The live show is going to end in the next couple of minutes, and then we'll have an after show. So if you're watching this on Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow.
Hey, how far can you go past? I'd like to present something real quick. It'll only take about 3 minutes, but I'm trying to chow down some breakfast. Can you run a little bit longer?
And you want to do it immediately?
Not immediately. I got about another 5 minutes here, and then a 3-minute presentation. Just real short. but
okay, fine.
Really, is that a pain?
Well, I just like to keep them to an hour, and it'll end up being longer, but that's okay.
Thanks, man. I'll be back.
No worries.
These people have been sold a dream. You know, Nathan, you talk about Narnia. They've been sold Narnia. All if you sell children Narnia, then they have to be treated the same way as any child who believes in Narnia, right? And you would not saying to anyone here in particular now, but you would not punish a child because they believe in Narnia, right? Just because they happen to, look like adults. And,
why do you associate
that
telling
way.
the truth
I
with
don't agree.
punishment?
I don't agree. So if one of my daughters told me that she believed Narnia was an actual place, I'd set her straight. Well, no, it's just pretend. It's not real. And when somebody says, I think the sky is a vacuum, I say, no, that's not possible.
I mean,
But
isn't
your
that what we're
daughter would
doing
say,
when
like,
parents are out there teaching
again,
their kids
take
that
the ball earlier,
Santa Claus
wouldn't she? Because
is
it's but this is the point, because we know children think like that. You put her straight, but in her mind, she's read books, she's seen cartoons, she cannot understand the difference between real and fantasy because she's a child. That's what makes children different to adults. If children understood and were responsible, they wouldn't be children, right? So, the difference here, I think that these adults have taken their childhood into their adulthood and they refuse to let go of this fantasy that they've had since a child. It's like someone today believing in Santa Claus today, an adult, yes, you would either say something is wrong mentally with that person, or if we were, going to take it seriously with them, we would do, our best to say, well, Santa Claus is not real. Let's show how it's not real and things like that. So, yeah, I agree. They seem like liars, but they're adults, so they're able to appear in a different way to how children may lie. You see, these are not
Spurs,
lying because they're
everything in the last 45 minutes has done one iota of moving you forward. You're still stuck in your quagmire.
Yeah, let's move on, please.
My goodness, you're like a baller, man.
Check out Arwin jumping on that bandwagon. Earlier, before Spurs got here, we were moaning about you coming up with fantasy nonsense rather than just sticking
I
to
loved
the truth.
it. I loved it the first 5 minutes, and then he basically made the same point over again, 40 minutes long. So,
okay.
Oh my Jupiter.
I've been waiting to.
Oh my
I've been waiting
relative.
to present something as well, but I've just been letting Spurs carry on.
I mean,
sorry, Randy. I mean, I would have stopped at any moment. I did. Go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to keep this live show going a bit longer. I'm sure the chat will be delighted. Please share the show.
I mean,
this will be an extended live show.
I will say this: there is a bit of duality in life, right? And I think, like we're kind of like going at Spurs right now because he's like, oh, let's feel bad for the Ballers. But I think it's a good thing to have somebody like that. The same way, we'll have someone like Nathan who just destroys the globe all day. It's nice to have somebody like Spurs who will be trying to kind of coddle the Ballers a little bit. Like, hey guys, it's okay.
well,
I agree with you, Choco. I see Spurs better
myself.
Yeah,
but I don't talk for 40 minutes straight about that single subject, though.
I'd rather have. Hold on, we've got Ranties ready to rock and roll, aren't you, Ranty?
I am, yeah.
Right, let's get you going then. While we're waiting for John.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I want to talk about diffraction because obviously the globers seem to think that diffraction doesn't play a part in losing any detail in your photography or anything like that. So this is a series of images that I took facing the same location. So I'm aiming for this cloud here, specifically in this location right where the cursor is. Now, this is without any zoom at all, and it was in 4K as well. So this is shot in 4K, so it's the highest resolution that I could get. And what we've got is we've got some smudges on the horizon. These are the wind turbines, and this is the actual location right here where I'm actually going to do a series of images getting incrementally closer. And so from this point here, the angular resolution of all this stuff over here, in other words, this turbine here, this big turbine, 300-foot turbine, is in perhaps half a dozen pixels. That's all it's in. So it can't collect all the data. It just can't do it. So it's actually diffracted. So this means that all that data there's a lot of data that's being lost. It's being spilled into the neighboring pixels, and the Aries disks, all that information isn't being collected. And this is just a perfect example of the diffraction limit in action. So that's the first image. Here's the next image. I'll zoom in closer. And if we want to focus on something really small, which would be this little part right next to this turbine, and you can see that it's a little bit of a smudge. Again, it's not very clear. Let's go to the next image. And then when we zoom into the same location, we can actually see a lot more detail now. We can actually see that there's some kind of structure there. But if we go back a couple of images, like I say, let's go back to the very first image, and we look at this, we have no idea that that structure would even be there. This is the location where it would be. It's filmed in 4K, and it's not visible. It is completely invisible. And what's going to happen is that the camera will, I went into my digital, here we go. So this is in digital. And essentially this was as close as that I could get. So once we've got to this point, and this turbine here, which is some 16 miles away, we've got to this point, these turbines 16 miles away. If there was another object twice as far away, even in digital zoom, you wouldn't be able to see it. It's as simple as that. Things would be lost, data would be lost, things would be lost to diffraction. And this is just a really cool example of how that actually works.
Cool, very cool. Thank you, Randy. Is that the end of your bit?
Yeah. I mean, I've got loads more. I've got a load of stuff to talk about at some point, but this was what I wanted specifically to talk about today. It's just that the Globers seem to think that in every image you're going to capture all the details. It doesn't, you know, there's no, you're always going to get all the details, and this is just a good example of proving that wrong. So in this image, we have no idea that that building is there, or that structure is there next to that turbine. Same as your eyes, your eyes is 0.02 degrees, your eyes wouldn't be able to see it. The camera isn't able to pick it up. And at some point, all the cameras get diffracted. There is a diffraction limit to everything. And eventually, at some distance, you wouldn't be able to see anything, no matter how good your camera is.
Excellent. Absolutely spot on.
No problem.
Your timing is epic, and Quantum Eraser's ready to rock and roll. Do you need to present your screen?
I didn't say I was ready yet.
Oh, we haven't bought enough time.
I know you are. Okay, listen. Yeah, let's just do it. I'll present the screen. 1 second.
Okay, give me a second, then I need to set that up. So.
Okay.
I'll just present it to the Hangout as well, just because I'm that kind of guy.
Just let me know when it's up, man.
Yeah, just give me a couple more seconds.
Yeah. Take your time. We got 4 more hours.
We haven't. Think of it as though there's 4 more hours. Right, I think we're ready to go. Right, you're on.
Yeah, so I think it was late yesterday, Anthony brought or made a video about conspiracy cats. Right? I don't know if you guys are familiar with this one. I was checking it out later yesterday. But I was absolutely shocked at this. Now, we're talking about an educated baller now, because conspiracy cats, he's not only educated, he's teaching your kids, right? Let's see what he has to say here. Conspiracy cats. The second law of thermodynamics is about the movement of energy, not the movement of matter. I nearly fell off the chair. I couldn't believe that he actually said that. I had to go back and listen to it a few times. What the hell is he talking about? Number one, from University Today or the universetoday.com. Number one, Einstein showed us light and matter are just aspects of the same thing. Matter is just frozen light, and light is matter on the move, right? Einstein's most famous equation says that energy and matter are 2 sides of the same coin. So what the heck are you talking about, conspiracy cats? I mean, you're an Einstein junkie, right? Number 2, from the entropy site .edu. In classical thermodynamics, it is viewing entropy increase as a measure of the dispersal of energy from localized to spread out at a given temperature, right? In molecular thermodynamics, it is considering the change in a system or surroundings or their total, for which there are fewer accessible microstates to one for which there is an increased number of accessible microstates. I mean, don't you know this? Again, from the entropy site .edu, gas expansion into a vacuum. The mixing of ideal gases or liquids, diffusion, effusion, colligative effects, and osmosis each fundamentally involves an increase in entropy due to increased dispersion of energy with no change in total energy in the case of ideal substances due to a greater number of microstates for the particular system involved. This physics teacher had failed 6th grade intro to physics. I mean, I'm speechless. Wait till you hear this one. This is the last one, by the way. Conspiracy cats. The particles that have made it that high up in the atmosphere have already done so much work against gravity and have radiated off so much of their energy as heat that they have almost no energy left whatsoever. What? Where? Are you on medication? Dude, have you heard this before? An object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed and in the same direction unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. You heard this before. Number 2, this gets better. Gas particles are constantly colliding with each other and the walls of their container. These collisions are elastic. That is, there is no net loss of energy from the collisions. This is intro to chemistry, by the way. And by the way, where's the container? Too funny. Number 3, the average kinetic energy of gas particles is proportional to what? The absolute temperature of the gas. And all gases at the same temperature have the same average kinetic energy. So, that high up in the atmosphere, crayon munching Mr. Magoo, is the thermosphere, where temps can reach better than 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. They're gaining energy. And number 4, radiate off energy is heat to what? To what? Do you even know the 3 levels of heat transfer? Please explain that to us. And what happens to gases when they cool? After you answer that, then where's the liquid in the upper atmosphere? My word, sir. And number 5, gravity. We've been down this road before. Which gravity? Einsteinian or Newtonian? Then, is gravity a force? B, is gravity a scientific law or scientific theory? C, what is the cause of gravity? D, scientifically validate the one you choose. Here we go again. What natural phenomenon was observed? Post a formal scientific hypothesis, then experiment that validates your claim. Number 3, highlight the independent and dependent variables that were used in the test. Cite source. Post a null hypothesis that was rejected or falsified. Oh, never mind. From techtarget.com. A gas is a sample of matter that conforms to the shape of a container in which it is held and acquires a uniform density inside the container, even in the presence of gravity, and regardless of the amount of substance in the container. If not confined to a container, gaseous matter, also known as vapor, will disperse into space. Duh! In conclusion, if cats would have said water is made from boll weevil salts, it would have been more coherent. For fuck's sake, man! Thanks for...
And with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of today's debating panel on both Discord, Skype, and indeed the Hangouts on Air regular panel members. If you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you're watching this in the Nathan Oakley 1980 live stream, then this is where we bid you farewell. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!